Good evening. We begin tonight with breaking news. There's been another stabbing, this time at St Mary's in Sydney's West.
This is a live shot. Right now, police have swarmed the area with multiple crime scenes in place, stretching hundreds of metres. Live to Sam Payne at the Sydney Police Centre. Sam, what can you tell us?
Yeah, good evening, Ange. Well, at this point in time, it's understood emergency services received a call and arrived at a service station at BP in St Mary's, and they found a male with a stab wound to his chest. Now, he was in his 20s. He was transported to Westmead Hospital in a critical condition. But as you mentioned, there's multiple crime scenes. And at this point in time, it's understood they believe he was actually stabbed at St Mary's train station, loaded into a vehicle, and then they found him at that BP. There is a third crime scene at this point in time, we understand, but that is yet to be found. Now, that male, as we mentioned, is in a critical condition, but police are still swarming the suburb. At this stage, no arrests have been made. We'll have more details on this story later in the bulletin.
OK, Sam Payne at the Sydney Police Centre. Thank you. The family of a man murdered on the main street of Merrylands has told 7 News of their unbearable grief and shock over the gruesome random attack.
The accused killer had escaped from a mental health facility at Cumberland Hospital. Staff there today saying they've been raising concerns about security for years.
Imamuddin Sadar came to Australia 15 years ago hoping to build a better life. But it ended on Tuesday, the 38-year-old murdered, allegedly by a man who shouldn't have been out in the community.
He was a very, very honest, compassionate person toward everyone.
Deep pain that we cannot express it by words.
10 days before the Maryland stabbing spree, which left Imamuddin dead and 2 others critically injured, the alleged attacker, Setefano Liatoa, escaped from Cumberland Hospital's mental health ward during a transport. It was the first of 2 major security breaches at the hospital in 24 hours. A day later, 31-year-old Luke Francis allegedly overpowered a nurse, stealing her pass to flee, then a car, before crashing into 2 innocent women after a police chase. They were both killed. 3 deaths being blamed on a system in crisis.
System's broken. There's not enough people to go around, either security, nursing or medical.
Frontline staff have been trying to raise the alarm for years.
I was dragged over a wall by a very large individual and I ended up in a hospital bed on spinal precautions.
Kicked me in the chest and broke 3 of my ribs. I was alone in this situation because it was just 2 nurses to 6 patients.
And if you've got staff speaking up because they're concerned for their safety, that should be a flashing red light to the government that they need to be doing more.
Obviously there needs to be a full investigation into the circumstances. This is a deeply distressing situation, and I feel terrible for the family members.
Cumberland Hospital is one of the country's largest mental health facilities, dealing with the community's most troubled and sometimes violent patients. But staff here say there are only 3 security guards on at a time, nowhere near enough for when things go wrong.
It was not good enough, but I hope it never happen again.
Looking for answers and help from the government to come here and say goodbye.
We love to bury him with our own hand.
Andrew Denny, 7 News.
Sydney's biggest Muslim festival kicks off at Lakemba tonight with a personal plea to Pauline Hanson to attend the event and walk the suburb streets. It's come from the local undertaker who's used his giant social media presence to issue the invite.
The table's set for one of Lakemba's biggest nights of the year and everyone's welcome, even Pauline Hanson.
Pauline, call to action. I'm waiting for you. Come down.
One of Lakemba's most famous faces, Ahmed Harachi, dubbed the Muslim Undertaker with 2 million Instagram fans, offering the One Nation leader a walk in his shoes.
Come down, see what we do every day. Everyone will welcome you. We're not as nasty as people think we are. We're not all terrorists.
The offer after Hanson said there were no good Muslims and Lakemba was unwelcoming.
I don't want to see Sharia law. I don't want to see burqas worn by women. I don't want to see these women having child after child at the taxpayers' expense. I don't know what these people think and what they will do if the numbers grow.
Do you believe there's a big apology owed by Senator Hanson?
Oh, look, probably, but we're not going to get it, let's be honest.
Anyone that's from Lakemba, that's been to Lakemba, that spends time in Lakemba, knows that that's it couldn't be further from the truth.
It doesn't make you anxious coming here?
Not me. It might make others, but not me.
But a third threat to the Lakemba Mosque has authorities on edge.
I have seen the letter. The local police have actually been there and spoken to those at the mosque. We've taken possession of it and we are investigating it.
After the Bondi incident, obviously retaliatory attacks are a thing.
It comes as 1.5 million people prepare to visit Lakemba Nights during Ramadan.
There will be additional security measures in place, if for nothing else, to make people feel safer.
Lakemba Nights kicks off here this evening and thousands are expected to come and taste what's on offer. Now, over the 4 weeks of Ramadan, this festival is held every Friday to Sunday night. The Operation Shelter team from New South Wales Police will be very closely monitoring this. Now, that's the squad that was set up to protect the Jewish community. They will now branch out here to protect Sydney's Islamic community as well. In fact, just in the last few moments, we've seen lots of police walk past to enjoy the festival as well and, of course, to protect the community.
OK, Clementine, thank you. The Prime Minister says he has nothing but contempt for the group of ISIS brides trying to return from a Syrian camp with their children. But despite his refusal to help, the government may have no choice but to let them in, while convicting and jailing them when they return could prove impossible.
Celebrating Chinese New Year, turning dumpling designer marking the Year of the Horse.
Can I get a job if this politics thing doesn't work out?
After ramping up the politics thing to maximum about the ISIS brides.
I have nothing but contempt for these people.
These people being the 11 brides, he clarifies, not the 23 children they're trying to bring back with them.
I have contempt for their parents who have put these children in that situation.
Though providing them passports, he says, a legal obligation, denying any other help to get them home.
What would your approach be if you were here in this whole situation with the ISIS guys?
Shut the door.
3 words used 7 times.
Shut the door. They should shut the door. We need to see this government shut the door.
The government has placed a temporary exclusion order on one ISIS bride.
Why not elsewhere? Why not for others?
Because the law sets a high bar, a law introduced by the Morrison cabinet Angus Taylor served in, one never intended to exclude ISIS families from returning to Australia, just to keep a close eye on them when they did.
On an effective parole type arrangement, which would mean that we could keep them under close monitoring, reporting and surveillance.
Laws his party is now criticising as inadequate.
If it is the case that our laws allow ISIS fighters or their supporters to come back to Australia, then the laws need changing.
There's been some pretty silly behaviour from the opposition, hypocrisy. They're complaining now about laws that they voted for.
Since 2013, about 80 ISIS fighters, brides and children have returned and only 10 have been charged. The number convicted and jailed, the AFP says, unknown.
You have to be able to prove the case beyond reasonable doubt, and you have to collect that evidence from countries like Syria.
Not an easy task. The heightened rhetoric from both sides today signals one thing. Each is trying to look tougher than the other on national security. Angus Taylor presenting himself as a strong new leader, and Anthony Albanese trying to dispel voter impressions of Labor as soft on security issues, all in the shadow of Pauline Hanson's One Nation, which is devouring both their support bases. Even tougher rhetoric coming from her. High voltage politics, but not the best environment for good policy.
Mark Riley with the latest from Canberra. Thank you. A Macquarie Fields man is behind bars tonight, accused of making threats to kill Federal Treasurer Jim Chalmers. The 55-year-old was charged yesterday after allegedly making threatening calls to the MP's office this month. Police uncovered gel blasters and slingshots at his home. He has been refused bail.
A former state MP is fighting almost a dozen charges that he sexually assaulted a young teenager. Rory Amon is alleged to have started chatting to the boy online before meeting up in person.
It's a walk he'll be taking for the next 3 weeks. Rory Amon is fighting allegations he preyed on a teenage boy in 2017. And his trial will hear why the charges were laid against him 7 years later. Eamon is alleged to have committed a number of offences, including sexually assaulting the complainant, the prosecutor said. The alleged victim was then aged 13 years. The accused was 27 and they met on a gay dating website. The jury was told of his political career. Once a councillor on Sydney's Northern Beaches before becoming a member of state parliament. Now he's facing 10 charges, including rape, attempted rape and committing an act of indecency on a child under the age of 16. Almost 24 witnesses are expected to give evidence over the coming weeks. Justice R.A. Hume reminded the jury members they must remain impartial and given Eamon's high profile, they must disregard everything they've seen about him in the media. Opening statements will begin tomorrow. Leonie Ryan, 7 News.
Security cameras have captured the moment a truck carrying pumpkins rolled on a roundabout in Western Sydney. The driver lost control shortly after midnight at Minchinbury and was trapped until emergency crews arrived. He suffered only minor injuries. The crash left pumpkins scattered across the road and firefighters also had to mop up an oil spill. Meanwhile, there was a sticky mess on the Princes motorway south of Wollongong. 2 trucks collided, causing thousands of litres of molasses to spill onto the road. One of the drivers was rushed to hospital in a critical condition.
The case for the Reserve Bank to cut interest rates hasn't been helped by the latest jobs figures. The unemployment rate remains steady at 4.1% through January. That result unlikely to reduce the current upward pressure on rates.
I don't expect that there's any surprises for the RBA in terms of our jobs market.
The Reserve Bank Board will make its next decision on the cash rate next month. It's an Australian first. Police have launched what they're calling game-changing technology, special drones to help catch criminals. Far cheaper and more agile than police helicopters, they're being trialled in the bush and, incredibly, they're piloted from here in Sydney. But there are privacy concerns.
No escape. A criminal on the run and he can't work out how police know his every move.
A real game changer.
This arrest orchestrated by police drone as part of a trial in the crime-plagued town of Moree in northwest New South Wales. Activated within minutes, think about how this could have been used to hunt down cop killer Desi Freeman in Victoria or gunman Julian Ingram in Lake Cargelligo.
If we could have got a remotely piloted aircraft up above that situation very quickly, it would have guided police officers.
Based on top of the local police station, the drones are remote controlled more than 600 kilometres away in Sydney's southwest at Bankstown Airport. A police pilot chasing crooks from an office. In the UK, drones are used to catch speeding drivers. In America, there are growing concerns about police drone privacy.
Start using it for routine surveillance to watch whole areas just in case something happens.
This is not about surveillance. The way that we will use these is exactly the same way that we use manned aircraft.
To fly these big police helicopters, it costs about $4,500 an hour. That's not a cheap operation when you've got to go from here at Bankstown Airport to somewhere like regional New South Wales. But the Moree police drone trial, that's going to cost just $100,000. Police are hoping the drones could be rolled out across the state. Rex Quayle, 7 News.
The US is edging closer to war with Iran. Sources close to the president say Donald Trump could greenlight an attack as early as this weekend after ramping up the nation's military presence in the Middle East. Tensions have been escalating over Tehran's nuclear program.
Diplomacy is always his first option, and Iran would be very wise to make a deal with President Trump.
The White House says Trump is still weighing up his options. 8 backcountry skiers are now confirmed dead after being buried by an avalanche in the mountains in Northern California. The group was on a 3-day expedition near Lake Tahoe when a powerful winter storm moved through. Search crews battled blizzard conditions to rescue 6 survivors.
They had some equipment with them trying to not only stay warm, but they had medical issues as well.
One skier remains unaccounted for.